Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth College Summer Spotlight Series event and our third college. I am Jenna Schulman, an independent educational consultant, which is just a fancy title for college counselor in the tri-state area. And I'm so happy to have you all join us today. This was a very popular one of the series. So I want to introduce Gardiana of the University of Miami, and it looks like a beautiful background there, a place that I would like to be right now. But I wanted to introduce her, and she is the New Jersey counselor for the University of Miami, but can speak on behalf of all students that are attending from wherever you are. And I will let her take it away to talk about Miami. And in the meantime, I will be the moderator of questions. So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. And I will ask them after her presentation. And then also, please, please, please check in on the website that she sent out to everyone. There is an event code there. So this way you're in the system and you can start to hear from Miami and learn about all the great things they're doing in the next few years. So let you take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Gardiana Bellamar, Assistant Director in the Office of Undergraduate Admission at UM. I'm also a UM alum, so I went there for undergrad, had an amazing experience, bleed orange and green all the way. I'm really excited to talk with you all today about the university. So this is very informal. What I'm going to do is break it up into two parts. So first I'll talk about academics and campus life, give you all an overview of what that looks like for students. And then I will go into the admission process in the second half. So maybe in between that, if we have any questions, we can stop and do questions, and then I'll go into the admission process, and then we'll do more questions at the end. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds
Okay,
like
awesome. I'm just
hopefully
gonna
all
share.
the attendees will also like that plan.
Okay, yes. So I'm gonna share my screen here. Can you all see it? Yeah, okay, awesome. So the University of Miami. As you all, I'm hoping are aware, we are located in South Florida. We're actually not located across the street from the beach. It's a popular misconception I get all the time when I go out and recruit to students. We are located in Coral Gables, Florida, which is about 25 minutes away from the main city of Miami. So we're definitely accessible to the heart of the city, but we're not right in the heart. So for students who are interested in that balance of being in the big city, but not really having that like big city feel, but close enough where you can have that experience if you want, UM is the perfect place for that. We are a mid-sized institution, so we have about 11,000 undergrads. So it's definitely big enough where you meet new people every day, but small enough where you also still see the same people you know every day as well. So that's another balance if students are interested in that kind of atmosphere. We have 9 undergraduate schools and colleges, as you can see here. We have also the Miller School of Medicine, which is located in downtown Miami. We also have the School of Law. Those are the graduate levels, but all of these other schools and colleges here are accessible and available for our undergrads. Speaking of our size, so we have 11,000 undergraduate students, and so that allows for smaller class sizes. So this picture that you see here is what a typical classroom will look like. So you have on average about 16 to 20 students in a class. And that allows for a very personalized experience in the classroom. So faculty members really get to know you by name. You're not just known by a random ID number lost in the crowd. You get to know them. You get to ask them questions, pick their brains, definitely get to know what they're working on. And when opportunities come their way, they remember you by name. And so they can be like, oh, I remember this student was interested in this. Let me send them this information. So you definitely have that personalized experience in the classroom, which a lot of students find helpful and useful. And you also get to know your peers more. Again, you're not just lost in the crowd. You definitely have time to have that interaction. I did see some of the questions that you all had in advance, and so I'm going to try and answer them throughout my presentation. But if I don't, definitely just ask towards the end. So some of you asked about direct entry and direct admission into some of the majors in schools and colleges. So we are direct admit. So when you're applying to University of Miami, whatever you indicate as your intended major on the common application, if you get admitted, that's the school or college that you'll start into. So if you're interested in the nursing program, the BSN program, if that's what you apply for as your intended major, if you get in, that's where you'll start off. It's direct admit. And that applies for all of our majors. So you're not applying to a specific school or college, you're applying to the university, and then whatever major you indicate, that's where you'll start off if you get admitted. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our academics and touch upon one of the coolest things I think is a plus for our academic curriculum. I know students currently have had classes where they're just like, why am I here? This has nothing to do with my life. I'm being forced to take it and I don't know why. And I'm sure some of you are dreading like going to college and having to have that experience again. But at the U, we actually don't have that as far as when it comes to general education. You really get to craft your experience and make it your own. So our version of general education is basically called the Cognates program, and I'll explain it. So students are required to take 3 classes under these 3 areas of knowledge. So you have arts and humanities, people and society, and STEM. You get to decide what those 3 classes are under each of those areas of knowledge. You don't have to remain within the school or college that your major is in. You can take classes throughout all disciplines across all schools and colleges. The cool thing with the Cognates program is that your major automatically fulfills one of those cognates. So let's say, for example, you are an architecture student. Your people and society cognate is filled right off the bat. So that leaves arts and humanities and STEM. So let's say you're also interested in music and you want to take some classes. You want to continue maybe building upon a skill that you already have. You can take a few classes in the Frost School of Music, and that fulfills your arts and humanities. Let's say you're also interested in interactive media. You take a few classes in that, and then that fulfills your STEM cognates. So you're not necessarily forced to take classes that have nothing to do with your major, that have nothing to do with your life and what you want to pursue in the future. You really get to make this experience your own. The other cool thing about the Cognates program is that this flexibility allows students to double major and have multiple minors. It's really rare to find UM students who just have a major and that's it. Because of this Cognates system, you either are able to pick up a minor, just pick up a few more classes and there's your minor, or continue to take some more classes until you graduate and there's your second major. So that's one of the coolest parts of our academic curriculum is the flexibility. Regardless of what major you're in, you can take classes across other disciplines, across other schools and colleges. So that's basically our academic curriculum. It's really hands-on. We believe in this motto of early on, hands-on. So as early as your freshman year, you can take classes. You are taking classes in your major. It's not like you're having to wait until your junior and senior year to actually realize that this is not what you want to do with the rest of your life. You definitely are able to do that as soon as you get on campus. So in addition to the academic curriculum, we also offer other opportunities for students to really get involved, to really hone in on skills that they're learning in the classroom, and to just explore the world. We have study abroad, as you can see in that picture on the left. That is definitely not Miami, but we have opportunities for students to go all over the world. We have programs that are faculty-led, so University of Miami faculty members will take students with them to areas where they're conducting research or areas where they already have a connection with another university and are teaching there, and students get to go with them. You can go study abroad based on your major. If you're interested in a program that specifically relates to your major, you can do that. We have programs in the Galapagos. We have programs in Shanghai, Rome, India, South Africa, really all over the world. And if there's a place that you are interested in going to and and we don't already have that program, you can definitely work with the study abroad office to see if that's something that they can work out for you. You can go for a full semester. You can also go for winter break, spring break, summer break. You can really craft it into whatever your academic curriculum looks like, regardless of your major. Like I mentioned earlier, you can go for a specific major, or if you want to go and fulfill a cognate, you can do that too. So that's definitely a flexible opportunity that we offer our students, and you can go as early as your first year, well into your senior year. Like I mentioned before, I'm an alum. I had a friend who studied abroad. She started studying abroad her sophomore year every semester until we graduated. She was a political science major. So that's just an example of how you can really craft this experience and make it your own. In addition to studying abroad, we also have research opportunities. So we are a private research institution. We're really big on making sure students get a lot of hands-on experience, like I said earlier. And so regardless of your major, you can engage in research. Research doesn't necessarily have to look like being in a classroom or in a lab with a lab coat and test tube, as you see here. Research can look like a variety of things. There are opportunities throughout all of our schools and colleges. Oops. Don't know what happened there. Sorry. We also have the Office of Undergraduate Research, which is available for students on the undergraduate level to assist them in finding research opportunities, whether that's on our campus or off. If you have your own project that you want to work on, they will help you build it up. They'll help you find faculty members who are working on areas that you're interested in as early as freshman year. You're not waiting until your senior year to finally get into a lab or get on a project that a professor is working on. You can start getting involved in research as soon as you walk on campus. And so as I'm kind of going through this and kind of explaining what opportunities are available, you'll notice that this early on hands-on theme that we have is really important. We really believe students should have the opportunity to figure out what they want to do with their life as soon as they walk on campus. And so these are the opportunities we offer. In addition to those opportunities kind of focus on academics, we also have a variety of opportunities focused on other areas. So we have 300 plus student organizations. They range from social clubs to cultural, political, pre-professional, really whatever you're interested in. You'll probably find an organization that's working on it. And if not, you can start it yourself, which is why we have 300 plus student organizations. And these are all student-led, all ran by students. They are organizing events, overseeing budgets, huge budgets. They're bringing in guest speakers. They're writing up contracts to bring in artists on campus, a variety of skills that they're using and learning that they wouldn't really learn in the classroom, but are definitely necessary and look good on their resumes. And so that's why we really encourage our students to get involved. Our campus life is very active and lively. If you ever have the chance to come on campus, if you've been before, you'll notice that our students are very active. They're doing a variety of things, signing students up for volunteer opportunities in the community, working on projects in the community, taking the skills that they're learning in the classroom and applying it into the real world. And that I'll kind of get into that later when I talk about the application process, but that's the kind of student we're looking for. We're looking for active students who want to use the skills that they're learning in the classroom and apply them into the real world setting, not waiting until they graduate to do it, but while they're a student to be those change makers. So a variety of opportunities as it relates to your major or not, a lot of networking opportunities, ways to get involved in the community. These are what we offer our students. So I'll talk a little bit more about campus life. Like I mentioned, it's very lively. We are located in Miami, not too far from the heart of the city. So there's always something to do, always things going on. Miami is a hub for everything that you can think of: arts, entertainment, culture, athletics, business. So whatever really you're looking for as far as getting involved, you'll definitely find an organization or business working on it in Miami. Because Miami, the university, is the premier university in South Florida, A lot of employers are looking for students specifically for internships and jobs. So on campus, you also find that there are a lot of employers who are actively recruiting all the time on campus. I'll talk a little bit about our Topple Career Center in a second, but I just want you to keep that in mind. Miami is a very diverse place when it comes to meeting people from all walks of life. We have diverse communities, diverse opportunities, and so it's definitely a hub of culture that for students. I tell students, if you never have the chance to study abroad and you go to the University of Miami and you're not from Miami, being there is like studying abroad in itself, because you're introduced to a variety of new culture, ideas, and ways of life. As you can see here on the map, we're located downtown in Coral Gables, but we're not far off from other parts of the city. So we also have the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, RASMUS for short. That's located out on Key Biscayne, and students can take our shuttle buses down to Key Biscayne if they are taking classes at Rasmus, or they have a research project going on down there, or if they just want to go to the beach, they can take the shuttle bus there. The shuttle bus also takes students to the Miller School of Medicine, which is located downtown. So for students who are interested in the pre-health, pre-sciences, pre-med tracks, definitely lots of opportunities to do research and shadow physicians down there. We have the Metro system, which is basically this orange line that takes students all over the city, and there's a stop right at the Coral Gables campus and also the Miller School of Medicine campus. So definitely accessible, if not by public transportation, also by private vehicle as well. We have different neighborhoods, as I mentioned. We have Little Havana, Little Haiti, Wynwood, which is like the arts district. We have the design district. So definitely you are able to explore Miami and all that it has to offer by being a student, because you're so close in proximity to these different communities. And the last thing I'll talk about student, as it relates to student life, and then I'll take some of your questions, is the Topple Career Center. So like I mentioned, because we are the city, a hub for a lot of things, and because we are like the gateway to the Americas, is how we say it sometimes, University of Miami students are at a prime location. And so a lot of organizations and businesses are always actively recruiting our students, and Topple helps put those students in connection with them. Topple hosts a variety of career fairs. They also provide resources for students to prepare themselves. So we have resume workshops, we have mock interviews, we bring in recruiters all the time so that students get to kind of see how to prepare themselves when the time comes to go on interviews and internships. We have various internships available in the city. And also, if you're interested in going back home or going elsewhere to seek out employment and your internship opportunities, you can do that. Topple will put you in touch with organizations and businesses across the world. We're not just confined to Miami, but definitely being in Miami puts you at a good advantage, but you're not limited to just being here in the city. I do encourage you all to go to hirearcane.com if you can, to look at the different opportunities we offer students as it relates to internships, to see where students are going after graduation, to see as far as their average salaries after graduation, what graduate programs they're getting into, and just the other resources that Topple offers as it relates to career prep. Okay, so that's a really brief overview of student life. I saw that we had some questions. So let's see. Ella asked, if I wanted to do a Bachelor of Music, could I also have a second major, even though a Bachelor of Music is more intense? Yes, it is possible. Actually, various Frost students will double major within the Frost school, or they pick up a minor. Again, because of the Cognates program, it is possible for you to take classes across disciplines and also to pick up a minor or major. How will admissions be like since you have went test optional? I'll talk a little bit about that when I talk about the admission process, Jamie. Okay, Fiona, is there a pre-physician assistance track offered? We do have various pre-professional tracks. We have, however, I'm not 100% sure if we have the pre-physicians track. I encourage you to go to the pre-health website on the University of Miami page, and there you can see the list of pre-health options that we offer. How's attendance at football and basketball games, and are these stadiums on campus? So this is a picture of what our football games typically look like. We have a lot of school spirit. Once you get on campus, you automatically feel that spirit, whether there's a game or not. We pride ourselves in wearing the orange and green all the time, throwing up the U. And so our athletic games, not just football and basketball, but all of our athletic games are well attended by our students and fans, just because of that school spirit that we foster within ourselves when we're on campus. As soon as you walk on campus, you're getting free gear from day one. You get free t-shirts like every week. And so you definitely feel that atmosphere of being part of the Hurricane family, which allows for that school spirit to shine through even on days when we don't have games. As far as the stadiums, the football stadium is actually not located on our campus. It's located in the stadium's called Sun Life Stadium, and it's located about 25 minutes away from campus. And so what will usually happen is that the school will provide shuttle services for students to and from the stadium on game days. Yes, we do have Greek Life. Greek Life, I believe about 20 to 25% of our students go Greek. So it's definitely a presence on campus, but it's not overwhelming where you feel like you have to go Greek to fit in. But it is an option that is available for students if they are interested in going Greek. Our most popular majors, I don't want to single any major out because I think all of our majors are pretty popular. Because of the flexibility of our Cognates program, our students are able to get involved in everything. And so I know business is popular, the School of Communications, all the majors there are popular. Through the marine science program, because we have the Erasmus campus located right out on the water, that's pretty popular. All of our majors have components to them that make them stand out. Like the School of Nursing has a simulation hospital, full-blown 4-story simulation hospital available for students to get in, that firsthand experience. So that's another reason why nursing is popular. And so most of our majors have components to them that really stand out, that make students want to pursue them. Is freshman on campus housing guaranteed? So yes, you are guaranteed housing your freshman year and are required to live on campus your freshman year if you apply by the deadline. I'm sorry, you're guaranteed housing if you apply by the deadline, and you are required to live on campus that first year. You're not allowed to have your car that first year as well, so I just want to make that point too. But there are options to get around campus and around the city besides having your own car. If you guys have ever had the chance to visit our campus recently, before this pandemic, you would have seen that we just built a new student housing village. And so that's going to really revamp the on-campus housing experience to a whole nother level. And so we are looking forward to that opening up this fall. What kind of students fit in at this school? So like I mentioned before, our students are very active and involved in a variety of things. It's very hard not to get involved if you are at the U. There are programs, opportunities where you are able to take the skills you're learning into the classroom and apply them to a real world setting, whether that's through social clubs, cultural clubs, pre-professional clubs, research, various opportunities available for you to get involved. And so that's the culture at UM. Our students are very active and lively. Now there are, opportunities where you can have your downtime, where you can definitely, be to yourself, find a quiet place on campus to relax. But again, overall, our students are always finding ways to get involved in the community. Where is the Nursing Simulation Hospital? And do nursing students primarily have classes on the main campus? So yes, the School of Nursing is located on the main campus in Coral Gables, as well as the Simulation Hospital. So it's all right there. The only school that's not located on our main campus is the the Rosenstiel School of Marine Atmospheric Science. But even then, your main courses will still be on our Coral Gables campus. And so that's where student life takes place, on the Coral Gables campus. I'll take this last question and then I'll move on to our admission process. So this says, if I'm interested in medicine but not 100% positive, do you recommend applying to the pre-med program or just general admission? Is one better or more likely to be set up for success? So you can, it's up to you. If you know that you are interested in medicine and would like to begin the pre-med track as soon as you get on campus, you can do so. If not, you can declare pre-med afterwards once you get on campus. It doesn't really matter. So pre-med is not a major. So you would select the major that you're interested in. So typically pre-med students will do anything in the sciences, so like biology, chemistry, or something like that. Or you can go undecided. That's also an option, and then declare pre-med. Also on the Common App, or you can wait till you get to campus when you meet with your academic advisor and learn more about the pre-med opportunities, and then declare pre-med at that time. It's really up to you. That does not determine whether or not you get in as far as admissions. Again, we are direct admit, so whatever program you apply to, if you get admitted, that's just where you'll start off. We don't have different requirements or criteria for any of the programs, unless it's any of the performance-based programs, which I'll get into. But yeah, it's really up to you what major you want to apply for. And then when you get on campus, you can decide to then switch or get into pre-med track. Okay, so I am now going to transition over to the admission process. These are our stats from this past fall 2019 cycle. Well, last year's class, fall 2019. This year, we actually received more than 40,000 applications. So the number of applications we received this year did go up. Very competitive, lots of applications, very competitive process. The average unweighted GPA last year was a 3.8. The admit rate was 27%. These numbers will definitely change for this past class. However, those numbers have not been released yet. But I don't want you all to look at this and kind of get scared or become anxious, because these are just numbers. I'm going to go into the actual process and what we look at and what we require for this upcoming fall 2021 class. And so let's go down the list. All right, so we require the Common App, so you will have to apply via the Common application. And two areas I want to just kind of touch on that are very important when you're applying to the Common App. You want to make sure you take time to craft them well, because this is where you are able to give us context about you that we otherwise would not have. So the extracurricular activities section and the essay portion. For this upcoming cycle, we will also have a supplemental essay required through the Common App, which is something new. So do be on the lookout for that. We haven't required that in these past cycles, and so we will require a supplemental essay in addition to the general Common App essay. So be sure to fill that out as well. Now, these areas are where you can give us, again, like I said, context about you that we otherwise would not know when we're reviewing your application. So you want to make sure you take the time to give us details and to craft this section well. So extracurricular activities, we want to know how you're spending your time outside of the classroom, whatever that may look like. So if you are part of an organization, if you do sports, if you have started your own nonprofit, if you work after school, maybe you work a part-time job, Maybe you have to go home and take care of your siblings because your parents go to work after school. Whatever it is, whatever you do after school, outside the classroom, we want to know. So definitely use this section to your advantage. Quality is definitely more important than quantity. So we don't want you to just list 10 things, but just give us no specific details. That's not going to help you. So just make sure that you're very specific about the things that you're involved in. If you've won any awards through these activities, list that. If you've been involved for several years, consecutive years, make sure you note that so that we can see that you are consistently involved in these types of activities that you list. Like I mentioned earlier, students are very active and involved, so we look to see what are students doing not only inside the classroom, but also outside. So again, this section is very important. The essays. Use this as a chance to tell us your story. Do not use this as a chance to tell us that you are a great student. We'll already see that. We'll already know. Use the essay as a chance to tell us something about you that you feel is really important to know that we otherwise would not know. So definitely you want to use that to your advantage. And again, like I mentioned, we will have a supplemental essay section as well. So you want to make sure you take time to craft those areas well. Transcripts. So we will require your official high school transcripts. With your transcripts, we recalculate your GPA to an unweighted 4.0 scale, and we look at you in the context of your school. So we're looking at the curriculum offered at your school. We look to see, the rigor of that curriculum and how you try to challenge yourself within that context. We're looking at your core academic classes based on what your school deems as the core academics, academic subjects. And that is how we are looking at your transcript. So do keep that in mind. This upcoming year, we are going test optional. So students have the option to either report their scores or not. You get to decide that. Given everything going on, this will relieve some stress for students, especially during this time of figuring out the college admission process. And so you do not need to report your scores if you don't want to. There's more information about that on the website. If you go to miami.edu/admissions, you'll see information about what the test optional process will look like. And if you do want to self-report your scores, how you can do that. You'll basically just put that on the common application. The two schools that even if you decide not to self-report or not, or programs, that you still need another component to your application is the Frost School of Music, which requires an audition. So whether you decide to report your scores or not, you still need to audition. And the School of Architecture, you need to submit a portfolio, whether you decide to submit your test scores or not. The Theater BFA program also requires an audition, so do keep that in mind if any of you are interested in the Theater BFA program. In addition to that, we also require 2 letters of recommendation. So you can get one from a teacher or a counselor. Really, it's up to you who you'd like to write your letter of recommendation, but my advice is to make sure you find someone who will actually write a letter of recommendation for you, not just one sentence. This is another area where you can give us context about you that we otherwise would not know. So whoever's writing your letter of recommendation, make sure that they are being thoughtful in what they write and sharing some more context about you, not just saying, Gertie is a great student, I highly recommend her. That gives us nothing. So we want to know more about you, who you are inside and outside the classroom. So just be mindful of who you ask to write your letters of recommendation. I'm not sure if we have any international students on the call, but if we do, another component that's required for international students is the International Financial Certification Form, because we are need aware for international students. So they'll need to fill that out. So that's pretty much what we require for the admission process. I will review your application if you are from Northern New Jersey. However, I am not the only one who will review your application, regardless of where you're from. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I am the Northern New Jersey rep for UM. And I think Jenna also mentioned that as well. But your counselor will review your application. However, the decision is made in a committee-based format, so multiple eyes will see your application by the end of the process. If you're interested in need-based financial assistance, make sure that on the Common App, you indicate you are interested in receiving financial aid. Then you will also receive a checklist of items in your portal to submit to make sure that you have all your documentation in so that you can receive a financial aid award package. The CSS profile is institutional-based aid, and the FAFSA is federal-based. So if you are interested in receiving financial aid, make sure that you're at least filling out these forms if you qualify and submitting these documents so that you can receive a financial aid package. We are need blind when it comes to admission for domestic students, so we don't see your need when we are reviewing your application. But this is just to ensure that if you submit it on time, you will get your financial aid package the same time that you receive your admission letter. Merit scholarships. So all students who apply are automatically considered for merit scholarships, regardless of when you apply. You do not need to submit any supplemental applications or anything like that. As long as you apply, you're automatically considered for merit aid. Now, if you apply by November 1st, which is either ED1 or EA, you can also qualify for Premier-based scholarships. Premier-based scholarships cover full cost, range from covering full cost of tuition to full cost of attendance. I always encourage students to apply by November 1st, whether it's EA or ED1, so that they can be eligible for those Premier scholarships. There is no supplemental application for those scholarships either. So as long as you apply by November 1st, you can be considered for them. It is a very competitive process, but you know, I encourage students to apply by November 1st so that they can be eligible and considered for those. Now, I'm sure most of you may know the difference between ED and EA, but I'll just briefly go over it. So early decision is a binding contract, which means you are signing a contract with your family, your counselor, saying that if you get admitted, you will come to the University of Miami, regardless of what your financial aid package may look like. If you are not dependent on, if you're not basing your decision on whether you attend or not, based on what you get for financial aid, then you can do ED. If you do want to wait to compare your financial aid packages from other universities that you get into, but UM is still one of your top choices, you're highly considering us, you can do early action. That's completely fine. It's non-binding. You are not agreeing to come if you get admitted. You still can weigh out your options, which is perfectly fine. We also have ED2, which is a binding contract as well, but that deadline is January 1st. Gives you more time to submit your documents in. However, you won't be eligible for or considered for any of the Premier-based scholarships. Regular decision is our largest application pool, and so the longer you wait, the more students you'll be competing with. And so that's another reason why I encourage students to apply early if they can, whether it's ED1 or EA. And that is our admission process. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen now, and then I want to see if we have any other questions.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions about the SAT, ACT optional, as I'm sure you've gotten many times before.
Sure, let's see. Okay, I don't believe I answered the cognate system. So how many classes would you need to take in each of these 3 areas of knowledge? You would just need to take 3 to fulfill the cognates requirement. To declare a minor, you take 4 or 5 classes in total, and that's why the cognates is really cool, because students get to pick up multiple minors along the way. So if you've already taken 3, you take 2 more, 1 or 2 more classes, and there's your minor. Is an SAT score needed to be considered for scholarships? No. So the test optional process that we're going through this upcoming cycle will not impact your scholarship consideration. So if you decide not to report your test scores, that will not affect you as far as it relates to receiving merit aid. That's a good question. Will the score being submitted, if it is not your best score, hurt you? I tell students, if you are confident in the score that you have received, by all means, send it in. But if you're not, then don't, because it's not required. It's test optional. And so if you are hesitant, you think that your score may not have been your best, don't send it in. It's not required. If we had the ability to take the ACT or SAT, would our application look better if we got a good score as opposed to no score? So again, it's because it's a test optional system, whether you decide to submit your score or not will not impact you as it relates to the admission process. So I'm gonna actually, let's see if I can post this link on here for you guys. This is the link that we have available for students who have questions about the test optional process. Let me see here. So you can always go back to and refer to it if you ever have any questions about it. But submitting if you are confident in the score that you received and you feel like that, you know, the best score that you can have and you want to submit it, you can by all means go ahead and do so. But do just remember that we are test optional, so we're not requiring for you to do that. And so if you do submit it, it will be factored in the admission process. But if you don't, it won't impact you either. I hope that made sense. If not, let me know. I'll try to explain it more. Let's see. Can you switch out of a school once you're in it? Yes. So you can switch your major. You can switch out of a school. So let's say you started off in the College of Arts and Sciences and you, through your cognates maybe, you started taking classes in the School of Communications and you decide you want to now switch your major. It's definitely possible. There are some majors, and depending on the point in time when you decide to switch, that you may have had to have prerequisites already. So that's where it gets a little tricky, but overall, it is possible to switch in and out of schools and colleges. Except for really like the Frost School of Music where you have to audition to get in. But besides any of the performance-based majors, you are really able to switch your major if you want to. Will UMiami be test optional for fall 2022? Good question. So as of right now, we are only test optional for fall 2021. We will kind of review the process and how it worked out for this upcoming cycle to see if that's something that the university will continue moving forward. But as of right now, it's only an option for the fall 2021 prospective students. If we apply early, will we be able to submit a better SAT score after that date? So I'm trying to understand this question. So let's say you apply by November 1st and you have scores that later on that you'd like to submit. It is possible to submit those test scores. However, we can't guarantee that they'll be used in time for the review process. Which is why if you are planning on submitting test scores, you want to make sure that you submit scores by the deadline. However, if you ended up having more, you know, if you took another test later on past the deadline date and you felt like maybe that's another test score you want us to consider, you can submit it. But again, we can't guarantee that we'll be able to have it in time for the review process. I hope that made sense. What aspect of the admission process are you putting the most weight on, given that there are no test scores? So that is something that I forgot to mention. So thank you for asking that. So we look at your application holistically. So we, even before this whole test optional process that we're now going into, this has always been what we, how we kind of look at your admission file. So we're not just looking at test scores. We also look at your transcripts, how you're doing in the classroom. We also looked at your extracurricular activities. So that's why I mentioned, you know, you want to make sure that you're crafting those areas well, because we want to know what you're doing outside of the classroom just as much as what you're doing inside of the classroom. It is a holistic review, and that's why we also take into consideration what your letters of recommendations are saying as well. So even before this whole test optional was an option, we have always been a holistic, we've always taken a holistic approach when it comes to reviewing your admission file. So in that sense, it won't be changing as far as where we're putting in more weight. Except for now you have another supplemental application required through the
Can I follow up on that? Do you know, I have some students that are ahead of the process, and there's a lot of downtime for students to get ahead of this process now for the class of 2021. Do you know, and can you say what the supplemental essay is going to be?
I don't know exactly what the actual question is. All I know is that the essay will focus on resilience. I don't, I'm not 100% sure what the actual question or the statement is for the supplemental essay. I just know that it'll focus on resilience.
Okay, and how much are you focused on what students, how they're spending their time during the pandemic?
So as of right now, that has not been included in the admission process yet. But I'm sure with that, I'm just already thinking that question of resilience, the pandemic is probably something that a lot of students will be focusing on as far as what they write in their essay. But that hasn't been anything that we've stated that will be factored in the admission process as of now.
Okay, and then are you adding any interviews? I know some similar private universities have interviews. Do you envision having interviews in this cycle?
No, I don't envision that because we received over like 40,000 applications. We don't anticipate having interviews for the admission process. Again, if things are ever fluid right now, especially with everything going on. So if there are any updates to that, we will indicate that on our website and let our students know.
Thanks. I think there's some more questions on here.
More questions? Okay. How competitive is admission into the business school? So that's a good question. I get that question a lot. So going back to the direct admit. So students are not applying to schools like separately. We don't have different criterias for different schools. You're applying to the university as a whole. And so the criteria that we're looking at for a student who indicated psychology as their major as opposed to finance, it's the same criteria. So it's direct admit, whatever you indicate on the Common App as your intended major, if you get admitted, that's just where you'll start off. And so the question is not really how competitive is admission to the business school, it's more so how competitive is admission to the University of Miami. And so that goes back to what I mentioned as far as the different components that we're looking at. So we are looking for students, you know, who are change makers in their community, students who are very active and involved, and who are not only excelling in the classroom, but also outside the classroom as well. And that's what a standout University of Miami student looks like. If I don't know if I need need-based aid, do I still fill out the FAFSA and other forms? You can definitely fill that out. You can also fill out the net price calculator. That can also indicate the anticipated amount of need that you would probably receive if you did fill out financial aid forms. So I would, let me see if I can pull up that website for you right now, actually. And I'll put it in the chat for you. You can also fill out the CSS profile, again, which is institutional-based aid. So even if you don't qualify for any federal-based aid, you may qualify for institutional-based, need-based aid, okay? Okay. All right. Many colleges require a rec letter from a counselor. Is this the case with UMiami? Would you prefer it to be 2 teachers? So we highly recommend at least one from a teacher and one from a counselor. But if you're not able to get one from your counselor, it's fine to get a recommendation letter from a teacher, or maybe a coach or someone that you've worked with in the community. We require two, to kind of get both someone to attest who you are in the classroom and also outside the classroom. So you can decide who in your life can attest to you in that sense, and you can have them fill out your letter of recommendation. Your counselor will still need to submit a school report, though. The school report gives us the context about your school, like I mentioned earlier about how we look at your transcripts. So the school report tells us, this is the rigor of the curriculum offered at your school. These are the different number of advanced courses that we offer at this school. This is the limit on how many advanced courses students can take. That's what the school report looks like. And that helps us when we're looking at your transcript to see how you try to challenge yourself each year. Those are all the questions I see. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have another question about, does Miami track demonstrated interest? And if so, how can students show that interest without being able to visit?
That's a good question. So we currently don't track demonstrated interest at this point of the admission process. But if a student, for example, were to get waitlisted, they could, at that point, we would track demonstrated interest. And what students we typically encourage them to do is reach out to their admission counselor, indicating that continued interest in being considered for admission. There are opportunities for students to get to know campus and to get to know our process virtually, even though they aren't able to visit campus right now, given everything going on. So if you go to our website, we have live information sessions available. I will also put that information for you all. We have live information sessions, Q&A sessions. We have a whole summer series going on. And so we have various virtual opportunities for our students. We have a virtual campus tour, given that they can't come to campus physically. And again, they can reach out to their admission counselor if they have questions regarding the admission process, to learn more about how they can best put themselves forward during the process.
I think we have another question.
Would a recommendation letter from a coach be acceptable? Yes, you can have a coach write a recommendation letter for you. Again, the title is not the most important thing. It's more of their relationship with you as far as like as a student inside and outside of the classroom. Definitely no family members, but if you have a coach that you've worked with, someone in the community, a pastor, or maybe a volunteer coordinator at a place that you volunteer with, you can use those folks to write letters of recommendation for you.
I have a question about the tours. Is there any update on what Miami is doing in the fall with tours and opening up their campus? I know Florida.
Right. So as of right now, we are still planning to have an on-time in-person start for the fall for our incoming students. As far as tours, as of now, the tours have not been reopened or scheduled for opening up in the fall yet. Any new updates that we have, we will announce to our prospective students. But as of right now, we do not have tours available for students.
Okay.
Physical tours.
Great. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Oh, wait, we have another one.
You have another one? Would it be bad to have 2 teacher recommendations rather than 1 from a guidance counselor? Nope. So again, it's really up to you who you decide to write your letter of recommendation. Just make sure that they're giving us context about you. We want to know who you are inside and outside the classroom. And so if you have 2 teachers who are able to send in your letters of recommendation, that's completely fine. I know some schools, the counselor may not have been able to have time to really get to know students, and so writing a letter of recommendation is not possible. And so that's completely fine. You can have two teachers write your letters of recommendation.
Great. 3 recommendations. So many recommendation questions.
Yeah. But these are all really great questions.
Someone asked about, can we do 3 recommendations?
So we require 2, and with over 40,000 applications, I tell students, you can submit more, but we will not guarantee that we'll read the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th letter of recommendation. So just send in your top 2. That's enough, and that's what's required for the admission process.
Yeah, and I recommend speaking to your school counselors as well about that, because usually they have a limit, and if you're using Naviance, it's going to be hard to send too many in. So
Right.
usually 2 is enough.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. This was so great, and to learn about Miami. Just want to share my screen for a minute to go over, all the remaining ones. So I won't read them all off, but you can go on my website to see which ones you can register for. Please remember that the confirmation email is also a link to the webinar, and some schools require an external webinar. And once again, Miami encourages you to fill out a form so they have your information on file that we just sent out in the chat before. If you're not my client, 6:30 next Tuesday is all about how to take advantage of college applications this summer. We have a lot of more free time than we've had before, so it's great to get ahead in the process with the essays and the Common App and your resume. And then all the remaining schools on here are all different colleges, really across the country. So definitely sign up, let your friends know. It's a free event. I'm adding more as they come in, so it's keeping me busy all summer. But yeah, that's about it. And if anyone has more questions, we have one more in the end, 2 more.
How important are subject SATs? So we don't require subject tests. So you don't need to submit those, and it's not a determining factor for admission. And then, is there a preference? Nope. You can either do SAT or ACT if you decide to report your scores. We don't have a preference. We super score both. So if you have taken those exams multiple times and you want to submit all of your scores, you can. We'll super score for both SAT and ACT.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Ask any questions, and everyone, hope to have a great night.
Yes, have a good evening. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.